Thanks for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and our guest today is James Richard with the Miami-Dade Solid Waste Management Department. And we're going to be talking about garbage, trash, tickets, all right, illegal dumping, all right, hidden cameras, the whole thing.
The whole nine.
Okay, so let's talk about the difference between throwing a bubble gum wrapper out the window, all right, and throwing a bag of garbage.
Yeah.
How do you guys look at that?
All right, so litter and illegal dumping are basically the same act. It's disposing of items in an improper fashion. Both kind of fall under the Florida litter law, excuse me. Litter tends to be small items, so it's more of an act of convenience where someone doesn't have a garbage can available to them, so they may throw a wrapper, tissue, a cup out the window or on the ground. Illegal dumping revolves around larger items, so we call them bulk trash items. So you're talking about construction and demolition debris, furniture. We've even had watercraft hulls, boats disposed on the side of the road.
When somebody do dumping, do they usually stop their vehicle because it's so much stuff, or do they take this big bag of stuff and throw it out? What's the usual way?
Well, usually in the cases that we've observed, people pull off on the side of the road and they offload. Sometimes they need two people. It's multiple people who come and offload off the back of a pickup truck, a box truck. We've seen commercial illegal dumping where it's a company that is involved in this activity, and so usually it's trying to find a location that isn't closely monitored and then disposing of these materials instead of taking it to the proper disposal sites as they should.
So when somebody goes to an area that they think it's not being monitored, actually, there might be a camera there.
Absolutely. Most of our illegal dumping reporting is done by residents in the community. And they do that by calling 311, contacting the county, and we go and investigate. But as time has progressed, we found that utilizing special technologies such as cameras, surveillance cameras, still photography and video photography has really enhanced our program and has led to a lot more violators being caught.
So do violators learn their lesson?
Well, surprisingly enough, even those people who are caught and are issued a civil citation or face some sort of penalty, there are repeat offenders. So those individuals who are caught, we've seen some people come up in our system again and have been investigated again after the fact, after that initial illegal dumping case.
So if people have debris from their house, landscaping things, or they're doing some construction work with permits, of course, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. What are some options for them?
Sure, absolutely. So if you're having any work done at your property, or you have large bulk items, and you're one of our customers in unincorporated Dade or some of the municipalities we service, you could schedule a bulky waste pickup, which is basically placing those items at the curb and having our staff come and pick up those items as part of your annual waste service fee. Or you could take those items to a trash and recycling center if you're one of our customers. Then the last resort is anyone in Miami-Dade County can bring large bulk trash items to one of our landfills and pay to dispose of that material. And that's where sometimes that's where the issue where illegal dumping becomes a factor, is where people don't want to pay to throw something away, so they instead go and find a remote spot and dump on the side of the road.
So the difference between having to pay for it and having it free pick up your house is what?
Well, it really depends on the weight. So I believe right now the waste, the disposal fee at our landfills is about $98 per ton. Don't quote me on that, but there is a fee that you have to pay, and they weigh the vehicle. There's a scale house when you arrive. But like I mentioned, our customers who we service, they have 2 bulky waste pickups available to them every year, and that's no additional charge. And they have up to 50 cubic yards per year that they can utilize. Per year. Mm-hmm.
And so for the uninitiated, all right, let's say it's a pickup truck and it's got a lot of stuff in it. How many pickup trucks, all right, is your 50 cubic feet?
Well, I usually put it in terms of our trash trucks. So if you see one of our trash trucks, one of those trucks is 25 cubic yards, and a cubic yard is about the size of a standard washing machine. Now, I don't know if I've ever seen a pickup truck with maybe 3 or 4 washing machines in it. So I'd say probably the back of a pickup truck is maybe 1 or 2 cubic yards. But again, it varies. But whenever somebody puts an item or items out for bulk pickup, our staff on site who come to pick it up are able to assess how much is there. And if there's an overage, they'll get in contact with the customer to let them know how much they have.
So if they're not a customer, which means what? I mean, they're not a resident in Miami-Dade County?
Well, we service unincorporated Miami-Dade and several municipalities. However, some cities have their own waste service departments. So like the city of Miami, Hialeah, Coral Gables, they have their own waste services. So we wouldn't provide waste services in their municipalities.
So how would you know if somebody drives up? Can we do this? Could you talk for 2 minutes about where people can take their trucks? And I got to do something and I'll be right back.
Sure, absolutely.
Look right in that camera. I'll be
Sure,
right
absolutely.
back. I'm so sorry. All right.
No, it's okay. No. If someone is a Miami-Dade County Waste Service customer, they could, of course, call 311 to get more information about where they could dispose of their items. Again, the trash and recycling centers are available to our waste service customers, and those trash and recycling centers are open 7 days a week. And any of our customers would just have to come up and show their valid state driver's license, and our staff on site will be able to scan that license to verify that you're one of our customers. At that point, you'll be able to dispose of those bulk items. Just an important note that those facilities do not accept household recyclables. I know recycling is in the name of the facility, but those facilities are for bulk trash only, not household garbage. And so those facilities are open, again, 7 days a week to our customers. But then again, if someone is not one of our waste service fee paying customers, they could always utilize our landfills. But a reminder that using our landfills does require for a disposal fee, and that'll be assessed when they go to the facility.
So when they go there, it has to get weighed.
Yeah.
Where are the weighing stations?
So the weigh stations are right at the entrance, and that's not only for someone who is using our landfills using a pickup truck. We have commercial disposal at our landfills as well, and so every single vehicle that comes in to dispose of material will go up basically on a ramp. They're weighed at the scale house, and then when they leave, the vehicles are weighed again, and that difference is what they're charged.
Is that automatic, sort of?
Oh yeah, it's automatic.
The one on 117th around 8th Street.
Yeah, so we have our 2 landfills. We have North Dade landfill, which is up by the county line near Hard Rock Stadium, and then we have the South Dade landfill, which is Cutler Bay in that area. So
if somebody was going to be charged for a variety of reasons for a pickup truckload of stuff, more or less, how much is that going to cost?
Well, it depends, because really, a ton of feathers and a ton of lead weigh the same, but it's a different amount.
I'm so sorry that I asked you that question.
No worries.
It's like, how much is a car?
It's based on weight. So, I mean, if someone brings a truck full of cardboard, all right, it would weigh less than a truck full of rocks.
Yep.
And so it really, the amount is not necessarily what we're concerned with, it's the weight. And that's how we establish how much disposal fee will be.
So the things that go to that particular, let's talk about the one on 117. Mm-hmm. Is that most of that landscaping material, or is that a variety of things?
Well, it's a variety of things. So I believe you're talking about one of our trash and recycling centers. Yes. Those sites accept, yard waste, such as tree branches, palm fronds, things like that. They also accept furniture. Many of our trash and recycling centers accept white goods, so things like large appliances, refrigerators, washing machines, and things like that. So there's a variety of items that they accept.
So when you go to that particular one, I used to go all the time. I just need a refresher course. So let's say in your pickup truck you have landscaping stuff, you got an old stove, and you have tires. Right. When you go there, do you put them in different piles, or you put them in the same place and somebody else sorts that out? So
tires are kind of a different animal. There is a separate, usually they have a dumpster at the trash and recycling centers where you put tires, and customers are allowed to bring 4 standard size tires for disposal at our trash and recycling centers. None of these big commercial truck tires. But there's separate disposal for those, because those are a little bit more of a special material. But as far as the appliances, there's also a special place within the TRCs, as we call them, to place white goods, because they also have different components of things.
You want to tell them to take the doors off the refrigerator?
Absolutely, yes. take your doors off the refrigerators, off your washing machines, anything that has hinges, you want to take the doors off because, we want to make sure that if in the event that they're placed out for pickup, then no one gets inside and gets trapped.
I was this big, and I remember the neighbors were looking for their little girl. Guess what? She went inside the refrigerator and died.
No, and that's exactly why we tell people to do that. Our bulk pickups, people put appliances out, but that's one of the things that they're instructed to do is to take off the door. You could just lean it on the side, and they take it with the regular pickup. But yeah, don't leave the doors on.
So they dump all this stuff maybe in 2 or 3 different bins, right? So explain what happens to, let's say, the landscaping material.
Right. So the vast majority of the trash and garbage in our county goes to our waste to energy facility, resources recovery facility in Doral, where that material is used as fuel to generate electricity. Our North Dade landfill accepts trash only. So the difference between trash and garbage is what comes out of the house. So whatever you throw away in your garbage bag, usually the stuff that smells, that decays. The trash is more yard waste, the things that you would throw away at the trash and recycling centers, furniture and things like that. So our North Dade landfill only takes trash. Our South Dade landfill takes trash and some garbage, but the vast majority of the material again goes to our resources recovery facility where it's used to make electricity.
So what's the nickname for the one down south?
People call it Mount Trashmore. I've heard that name also used for there's a Waste Management Incorporated landfill up in Broward that's also been called Mount Trashmore, but I've heard other names for it, but it's the South Dade landfill officially.
Okay, so the South Dade landfill.
Yes.
We keep putting stuff into this hole in the ground. We keep building this mountain. Mm-hmm. What happens after 10 years?
Well, over time, everything basically breaks down, or most things break down. So there is some compaction and some compression that happens over the years, and it's many years. But there is a capacity level that, at a certain point, there won't be any more space. And that's why we have our waste to energy facility, and we're lucky that we do, because generating electricity is just a byproduct of the real goal of that facility, and that's volume reduction. So about 10 trucks go in to our resources recovery facility. Only 1 truck of ash comes out, and that's contained on site. So just think of all the trash that would have just been piled in landfill if we didn't have that facility.
Because in that case, you burn it, you create steam, which
Absolutely.
Activates the turbines and provide electricity
Exactly.
for that facility, plus some homes.
Exactly. That it's varied because electricity requirements and utilization in houses has changed. It's somewhere between 35 to 40,000 homes receive electricity and are powered by our plant.
So you have a recycling plant there too. They take the stuff, they package it, and resell it to somebody.
Well, we don't actually have a recycling facility there. One thing we're examining is using the ash in the production of concrete. And so I believe there's a study, and they're working out and knocking out some of the finer details. But that's just another way of it being kind of a full circle disposal cycle where we could take the remaining material and use it for sidewalks and construction.
So what happens to the plastic bottles with necks on them? Where do those go?
Right. So we have a separate recycling plant that's actually owned and operated by Waste Management Incorporated. It's in Pembroke Pines. And so there are a contractor who takes that material, and it's separated, it's baled together, and those materials are shipped off to be made into new materials.
But all that material originally starts at people's homes.
Absolutely.
And it goes there and it gets separated.
Right. So we have a single stream recycling program. So if you're one of our customers, you have a green bin for garbage and you have a blue bin, or cart. Cart is the appropriate term. You have a blue cart for recycling. So you put all of your acceptable recyclables, which is cardboard, paper, cartons, cans, and bottles. They could be glass or plastic, and you just place them loose into the blue cart. The truck comes, takes it away, and at this facility that they have in Pembroke Pines, those materials are separated, and then they're baled together, like I said, and they're basically compacted into these cubes, and those cubes are then sold to companies to make materials out of.
So they take it, they literally recycle it.
At that facility, they literally recycle it. There is some recycling that does take place at our resources recovery facility, because if we have metal that we put into one of the burners, obviously it's not going to melt or be incinerated. So that material or that metal is taken out, and then that metal is recycled. But the household recycling is taken to a plant where those materials are separated, sorted, and sent off for recycling.
So what does the county do to try to, again, we spoke about it earlier, but to really actively try to reduce the amount of illegal dumping?
Sure. So we have an enforcement division.
Why don't you talk right in the camera?
Sure,
So
sure.
for the guys, it's
Absolutely. So we have an enforcement division where we have enforcement officers who patrol certain zones. And so in these zones, they patrol the regular neighborhoods in these areas, and then also hotspots. So there are locations in each zone where they are considered kind of a haven for illegal dumping. And so our staff goes and they patrol. And so we have a visibility within the community. Hopefully that'll be a deterrent. We also have no dumping signs that we provide and place strategically throughout the community. And then we also have education and outreach. We have a marketing campaign. It's called Dirty Crimes Carry Fines for illegal dumping, to kind of, really emphasize the penalties associated with this crime in our community.
so yeah, police. Yeah, your guys are these policemen that do that?
No, so we are involved, and we have a partnership with Miami-Dade Police. I believe they have staff specifically allocated for illegal dumping. And so their involvement is more along the lines of if someone is caught illegally dumping in the act. That doesn't typically happen. But if someone is actively illegally dumping, the police can be notified, and those individuals could be subject to arrest.
Right. So you have the private individual just is lazy, doesn't want to do it. Then you have the commercial guy
Yes.
that his job is to, among other things, remove trash, debris from
Right.
people's homes or businesses.
Right.
I guess it really makes a lot of people angry that somebody's getting paid for that and they leave it on the side of the street.
Right. And I think they try to take advantage of a situation where, part of the fee that they're charging the customer it should be for disposal. And instead of using that to properly dispose of the material at one of our landfills, they keep it. And in some instances, they just go and dump on the side of the road. There have been instances where mattress companies have been involved, tire haulers, construction demolition crews. We've caught commercial illegal dumping with those type of industries, but even like handymen, handy people. They take those materials, and instead of disposing them properly, they end up on the side of the road somewhere.
So I had heard this story, and maybe it was from you, where some fellas did some work at somebody's house.
Right.
And the code enforcement, or maybe his police, saw it.
Yep.
They went through all the trash.
Mm-hmm.
And they found a receipt.
That is absolutely correct. That was the story I told you.
That's a great story. Go ahead and share that.
I'll share it again. So this resident had hired a crew of workers to, I guess, do some renovations on his property, and they decided to dump the material on the side of the road. One of our investigators found the pile, dug through the material, and found a restaurant receipt from a Pollo Tropical. They went and visited that restaurant location. They were able to go back into the history of the purchase, find the information for the credit card that was used, and they actually discovered that the resident living at that property bought lunch for the workers at the house, and that's how they tied it back to that location, and they were able to assess a citation for that.
So for the people that are thinking about doing some illegal dumping, all right, it's illegal.
Absolutely, it's illegal. I mean, it is a crime.
Right. And I don't know if people get arrested for that, but it sure would ruin your day.
No, absolutely. I mean, there are fines upwards of $1,000 that people have been assessed, $2,500. People's vehicles have been seized. And again, like you mentioned, if someone is caught in the act and, the police are notified and they're able to get there before the people leave, they are subject to arrest.
And I told you a story, but I love telling it. I live in horse country, and one day I'm going down 118th Avenue. There's a wall on the side of the turnpike, so it's one way. It's very dark at night. And so one afternoon I'm going, I see somebody dumping stuff. It's hard to tell if people are picking it up or dumping it. So the guy takes off, so I follow him. And I finally catch up to him on Bird Road, 122nd. He's stuck behind in traffic light. I said, I got you, all right? I took a picture of his car. I called the police. They said, well, what about the pile of the trash? I said, I have a picture of it, which is necessary.
Yes.
Right? Because if you don't have it, It's like, what's the evidence?
Yep.
And they traced the guy down. They went over. He admitted that he or his uncle, somebody, they admitted it. And he said, but there was this crazy guy that was following. I said to the police officer, that was me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, we always want to tell the public, if you are witnessing someone dumping in the act, maybe not chase them down, but gather whatever information you can. You could call 911 if someone's actively dumping, but we don't want anybody to approach anyone and put themselves in what could be a dangerous situation. But get as much information as possible, at the very least, a tag number, a vehicle description, a location where the pile is being dumped, and then also photo evidence is also very useful.
I wouldn't do it again. All right. Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because I have grandkids now.
I know,
right?
absolutely.
So on 118th Avenue, people repeatedly dump there because they think that it's safe. And I would guess over the years that it probably is not being patrolled. I don't want to say patrolled enough because it's hard to say. I mean, how many cars would you have to do that? But when we look at the type of stuff, and as I told you before, somebody dumped a horse out there one time.
Yeah.
And boats are common.
Yep.
Right. That's very common.
Yes.
Right. So I just want to know, is there a trick for the police to find ID numbers on boats that they don't want to tell us what it's there?
Absolutely. I mean, like the story I told you, even the smallest receipt, a lot of items have serial numbers. Serial numbers can go back to, where something was registered. When you're talking about a vehicle, I know that there's, not a vehicle, a boat. Boats need to be registered if they're being used. We've had jet skis and things like that have been dumped. And so tracking that information, even though an illegal dumper may think they've been very careful and have removed whatever identifying information might be there, our seasoned investigators have been at it for a while, and they do their best to find out who's responsible.
So let's talk about a boat. Let's say a 20-footer, 25-footer that can be towed around. All right, not a real big boat, but how much would that cost to properly dispose of that? More or less.
I mean, it would probably be pretty costly. It depends on, again, how much.
$500, $1,000.
I mean, if it's a 5-ton boat, then yeah. I mean, it really depends on the size and the weight of the boat. A lot of times, when it comes to vessels, there's a great resale market, and so a lot of times they switch hands, and that's how they typically are passed from one person who doesn't want it to another. In the event that a boat is disposed of, a lot of factors have to come into play for it to be disposed of properly at our facility. It doesn't, the motor has to be removed. There can't be any fluids, any sort of motor fluids or anything inside. But again, it would just depend on how much weight is registered at that scale house when it's brought for disposal. And there are other, the other thing about it is there are a lot of waste service providers or locations that people can dispose of things, and they'll actually, get paid for it. I mean, if you take a boat to, I'm guessing, a boat scrapyard where they can use some of that material there, someone might be able to actually get paid to dispose of it rather than paying to dispose of it. Whether or not they're aware of that, those people who dispose on the side of the road, I don't know. But, there is a fee associated with disposing at our locations because, we have to, maintain the facility and continue operating it. So at least for our landfills, there's that cost.
Years ago, we had this really old press. We sold most of it, and the press is like a train. You got the caboose. I mean, you got the front part, and then you have each of the cars. And so the guy who bought it put as many of these pieces, if you will, cars, units, as they're called, into the trucks, and he left the last two. I had to pay somebody to take it away, right? And that's just the way that it is. Right?
No, it is. I mean, a lot of people don't think that throwing something away, costs anything. But our customers pay a waste service fee. We even, our garbage trucks actually have to pay to dispose of one of our facilities. It's kind of a balancing act where, even when, we have Waste Management Incorporated or one of these private haulers, they have to pay to use our facility. It's not just something we're putting on the backs necessarily of our residents and businesses. Everyone has to pay to use the facility, and that just maintains the facility, allows it to operate at the peak that it currently is. And so it's just the cost of doing business, and people don't really have that in mind when they're thinking about throwing something
So James,
away.
tell us again the number of homes that are serviced by the county.
Sure, absolutely. So we have about 340,000 waste service customers. So those are single family homes that receive garbage and recycling service. from us. So our garbage service is twice a week, and recycling service is once every 2 weeks.
And if somebody needs a new green cart, all right, but before we get to that,
Sure.
When somebody takes their garbage out to the swale,
Yes.
tell everybody which way that thing's supposed to be facing.
All right, wheels to the house. So you just want to make sure when you push it to the curb, you don't pull it, you push it to the curb, the wheel should be facing your house, and that would ensure that the garbage inside would come out when it's collected. Now, if you jam a lot of stuff in there and kind of jam things up, there might be something left at the bottom, but we tell people, don't try to overpack your garbage cans if possible.
And for people that haven't really watched it, it's how it gets picked up. It's pretty amazing.
Oh no,
the big truck goes there.
Big truck. It's an automated robotic arm that comes down, grabs the cart, shakes it out, puts it back down, and they move to the next house. It's
amazing how many homes your average staff goes to per driver. How many a day, more or less?
So it's over 100 routes that we have. If you extrapolate that, with how many customers, and we touch those properties twice a week, you're talking about 700 or 800, 780,000 customer connections or customer services every single week. It's a large operation. We have 320 square miles of service area that we have to cover and support. So it's a large operation, and we try our best.
And these guys and ladies that operate those machines, right? When they do the arm, it's a little joystick, right?
Yep.
And they're watching in a mirror to make sure they're doing it right?
Well, yeah. Some of these newer vehicles actually have cameras, so they'll be able to see on the side of the truck to make sure that they are, being careful not to maybe knock over an adjacent can or a cart or a recycling cart. But yeah, they some of the more seasoned drivers, they've been using the side mirror to make sure that they've been servicing the correct cart, and it's really an efficient way of providing this service for our customers.
I guess I could figure it out, but when a driver pulls up to that house, there's two cans there, he's in and out in a very short period of time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And does the county still have areas to where there are men and women on the backside of the truck?
There are a few select areas where we have manual service. Those are areas where maybe it's the roads are a little tight. And those, we're trying our best to convert those areas over to automated service, because there are a lot of things that go along with manual service with someone standing on the back of a truck. You're dealing with the elements. Someone on the back of the truck, it's a safety hazard and things like that we don't necessarily want them to be in. When we have this alternative that is much safer, it's just as efficient, if not more efficient. And so there are still some places that receive manual service, but eventually we'll get to the point where all of our operations and daily service will be hopefully automated.
We've been fortunate enough to deal with 4 or 5 departments from the county. I can tell you, everybody that's come here, all right, is enthusiastic and passionate about their jobs, right? What is it that excites you about working with the county?
Well, it's just something different every day. I'm sure there might be some people out there who think, oh, government work, it must be kind of boring, but literally there are different situations and scenarios that come up every day. My role specifically, dealing with customers for the most part, making sure that, their services are provided. If they have any service requests through our 311 contact center that may be delayed or there might be an issue, just trying to figure out how we could, have them accommodated and provide that service. It really does, provide a real variety of interactions, and no day's the same. And in certain situations, in the event of, I'm going to knock on wood, a hurricane or a storm, when we are activated and we have a pretty big role specifically in recovery efforts, that just kind of brings a whole new dimension to our operation and to my role. So it's something that I really am lucky to be here and to be able to work for this department with all these great people and really have a great time doing it.
So, James, you've been with the department now about 5 years?
That is correct.
And prior to that, you were at?
I was with Broward County Parks and Recreation. So, I live in Broward County and I work for Broward County government, and an opportunity presented itself, and I came down south. And it's been a great experience.
And the Parks Department was just here, Eco Venture Park with Willie, and I've forgotten the young lady's name. She's going to kill me. They brought a couple turtles down to show everybody.
Yeah.
Just an incredible operation, Miami-Dade County. When we hear you say in our clients, our customers, that's a wonderful way to do it. How do we take care of our customers? All right. And I can see that you really you enjoy doing this. All right.
Yes.
And we're going to wrap up here in just a minute, but we want to give Tommy a chance to talk about the Marlins for a second.
Well, I just did the show in the back with Winker, but came off a weekend that we lost the series to Milwaukee, and we're on a 10-game road trip right now, so on the West Coast. So all late games, 9:40, 10 o'clock games.
So he's real fanatic about it. That's a fan addict. All right.
Gotcha.
All right. And
Addict fan.
there you go. And he has a show most every day right here at Miami Community News. Tommy, what's the name of your
Mainline Marlins.
Mainline Marlins?
Number 69 podcast in the U.S. on Apple Podcasts for sports news.
Wow.
All right. So we're very excited, and we're glad to bring that to you. So tune in when you get done.
Absolutely.
Now, folks can go to the Miami-Dade .gov website, and they can go under which department they can see videos.
Right. So it's miamidade.gov/solid waste. And that's our main website where people get information about the services we provide. They can find out what their garbage pickup day is, recycling pickup day. If they want to see some videos about our services as well, they can go to youtube.com/Miami-Dade TV, and there's a solid waste playlist. It's the county's YouTube channel. They can go there and watch some information about our services.
And does your department offer classes, or do you ever go out to schools and share with them?
Absolutely. We've been doing that virtually, with everything going on with the pandemic. But, once things normalize, it's one of the things we do. Specifically with, recycling, we like to go to the schools because, you educate the children. They're the ones who get on their parents' case and make sure that they're doing the right thing at home. And they have a real interest for it. So, we've been trying to do some virtual outreach to a certain extent. But going forward, again, once things normalize a little bit more, that's one of the outreach activities that we really look forward to, is getting back into the schools.
Okay. And speaking of schools, there's some young person that's looking to you and say, I'm thinking about going to work for government. Right. So why don't you talk to them about what it's like to work for government?
Sure. No, government work is great. Like I mentioned before, it's really interesting. There's different things that come up every day. It's a large organization. And so you meet a lot of different people, within solid waste. I mean, we have people who are accountants. We have waste truck operators. We have purchasing specialists. We have marketing specialists. So within government, there are a lot of different roles that people can play with their different career goals and career paths. And so it really is a melting pot. And again, I'm just lucky to be in this department. I can't speak enough about the people I work with every day, and the support and the background of all these great professionals that I get to work with every day.
So it's wonderful. We're going to wrap it up. And again, our guest today is James Richard with the Miami-Dade Solid Waste Management Department. And thank you very much for being here.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Folks, thanks again. Have a great afternoon.